when we were in that house. Eventually we said, this is an extra watchman. We don't need to annoy him. And in the evening when we are going to bed, we'd give him black coffee and say,
what?
Have a good night.
So you found a way to just cope?
Yeah, just find a way to cope with it.
And later charged with treason. He was detained for 6 years. His mother, Mary Ajuma, died in 1984, but the prison authority did not inform him until 2 months later, which was very traumatizing above the detention torture. He was released on 6th February 1988, but 6 months later, he was again detained in September 1988 by President Moi for his involvement with human rights and pro-democracy activism that was pressing for multi-party democracy in Kenya. He was released on 12th June 1989 and jailed one more time on 5th July 1990, along with Kenneth Matiba and former Nairobi Mayor Charles Rubia. On being released on 21st June 1991, he fled the country to Norway, fearing for his life after several threats by the Moi regime in October 1991. All this time, the state in many ways abused his wife's basic rights, including losing her teaching job and being harassed to vacate the staff houses at the Kenya High School where she was teaching. At the time of going to exile in Norway, the Forum for the Restoration of Democracy, FORD, was formed to agitate for the return of multi-party democracy in Kenya.
Ili tuone hawa walio katika siasa, wale walio watumishi wa serikali, sisi tuseme kwamba tufungue, tuondoe ile section ya katiba ya Kenya ya 2A.
February 1992, Raila returned to join FORD, then led by his father Jaramogi Oginga Odinga. He was elected vice chairman of the General Purposes Committee of the party.
This is the first time you are truly happy to remember that we struggled for independence and work.
Run up to the 1992 general elections, FORD split into FORD Kenya, led by Jaramogi Oginga Odinga, and FORD Asili, led by Kenneth Matiba. Raila became FORD Kenya's Deputy Director of Elections. He won the Lang'ata constituency parliamentary seat previously held by Philip Liki of Kanu. When Jaramogi passed on, in January 1994, Richard Wamalwa Kijana took over as chairman of FORD Kenya. Raila challenged him for the party leadership, and in the elections marred by controversy at Thika Stadium, Raila resigned and joined the National Development Party, NDP. In 1997 general elections, Raila finished third after President Moi and Mwai Kibaki of DP. He retained his position as MP for Lang'ata and supported the Moi government, leading to a merger of NDP and KANU.
There's nothing stronger than all the armies in the world, and that is an idea whose time has come.
He served in Moi's cabinet as Minister for Modho. The presidential elections on 21st December 2007, Raila had Musalia Mudavadi as his running mate. Kibaki's win by about 272,000 votes was disputed by ODM leaders, leading to a call for mass action. Violence broke out. Following 2 months of unrest almost plunging the country into a civil war that led to Kofi Annan, the former UN Secretary General, to broker a truce and the sharing of power through the cabinet, and Raila became the second Kenyan to hold the office of the Prime Minister after Kenyatta in the government of national unity.
The Parliament and all Kenyans will work with the government and the leaders to get it done. I also appeal to all Kenyans to work with President Kibaki and Prime Minister-designate Raila Odinga to heal and reconcile this nation. This is a great nation. It has a great future.
Without peace, there can be no unity. Without unity, there can be no nation, and there can be no development.
Nionyeshe mikono kwenye hewa. Nipe mikono kwenye hewa.
In the general elections of 2013, Raila joined the Coalition for Reforms and Democracy, CORD, with then Kenya's Vice President Kalonzo Musyoka's Wiper Democratic Movement and other parties. A delay in the release of the final results by IEBC, where Odinga was said to have received 43.31% of the votes and Uhuru Kenyatta 50.07%, saw the filing of a petition at the Supreme Court whose ruling upheld the election results, which Raila respected and conceded.
We will, I believe, be able to demonstrate why we reached our conclusion.
Raila Odinga remained active in politics, with ODM and other new parties in the CORD coalition, plus others, formed the National Super Alliance, NASA, for the 2017 elections against Jubilee. In the early morning of 9th March 2018, in a surprising turn of events, Odinga and Kenyatta reconciled, and grasping hands became popularly called handshake. Odinga went on to work with Uhuru in the Building Bridges initiative BBI that endeavored to identify some of the country's greatest challenges and work out solutions. These recommendations were adapted into a constitutional amendment bill which was passed by both houses of parliament in May 2021. This was challenged in the courts before it could be put to a public referendum.
I have been faithful and committed to building a national, democratic and progressive Kenya in our lifetime. Having worked for many patriotic Kenyans to achieve this goal, I do hereby accept to present myself as a presidential candidate at the presidential elections on the 9th of August 2022.
Raila's pursuit for peace and unity for the nation is well captioned in his selflessness and desire to work with other leaders, as exemplified by his handshakes with Moi, Kibaki,